Coming to you from an undisclosed location, somewhere deep in the heart of the Santa Monica Mountains, I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. We're going to be talking about Burning Man today. And there's nobody that I know that's more equipped to talk about it than Carl Teichrib. And he'll be joining us here in just a little bit. First, a word from our trusted sponsor. A 2025 survey found that over half of U.S. adults are concerned about how fast their skin is aging, and 40% fixate on random wrinkles or dark spots. If that sounds like you, you're not alone. More and more people are noticing visible changes in their skin far earlier than expected. Folks, this is why I use my secret anti-aging weapon, and I'm obsessed with the changes I've noticed in my skin. It provides my skin with the 5 must-have types of premium collagen needed to help reduce wrinkles. Since taking it, I've experienced smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer fine lines, and a more youthful glow. Plus, it mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea. Folks, I use it. I don't even mix it with the coffee. I just use it with water. Mix it up really well. I have one of those little stirring things, and voila, down my neck it goes, and I do it daily. Folks, be sure to grab a bag of ageless multi-collagen now while it's 51% off. Only www.healthwithla.com. healthwithla.com, and help take years off the clock. Plus, by ordering now, you're also guaranteed to get a free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and of course, free shipping. Folks, once again, www.healthwithla.com. You know, I've been taking this for a while now. I've noticed the difference. I actually had someone write in and go, "L.A., what are you taking? You look younger." So, look, I don't know whether it's related to that, but all I know is that I take the collagen as often as possible every day, as long as I remember. I keep it right on the counter, and I've noticed the difference. Check it out, folks, healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Remember, we do a show every single day, every day. So don't wait for YouTube to send you the little notice. Just if you're interested in what we do here, we're all over the map. UFOs, the occult, end time prophecy, it's all here on a daily basis. So anyway, if you have not hit the subscription button, that was a mouthful, please do so. And also consider joining. This is we're going to get into some members only stuff here in just a little bit. But thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. Carl, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Looking forward to our conversation.
So, I first heard about Burning Man years ago, basically from you. And then I had friends that went there, Christian friends that went there, and they opened up this dream interpretation booth. And all these people would come up and they tell their dreams. These are born-again spirit-filled Christians slipping under the radar, as it were. And just, and it's all the nudity and the whole, I get all that. And they were called to do it like you. But there's no one that I know that's been, how many years now have you been there?
This is my 6th year, and then I've done regionals. I've also done a handful of other events that dovetail with Burning Man, same people, same culture, just, in different locations and different settings. Last year's Eclipse Festival in Texas definitely fit that bill. And then I did the virtuals during COVID. And so, I've stepped fully into this culture to try to understand it, to have conversations inside of it. And as a Christian researcher and a Christian witness to the change that's happening in our culture in Burning Man, and the movement around it represents that massive cultural change, that huge shift that we all can see around us, but it acts as kind of the sharp edge of the spear.
Well, and again, folks, let me just say something. And unless you're called to do this, you just don't go running a Burning Man. Trust me. It's just like, unless the Lord tells you, start going to mounds and filming, and you just don't do this stuff. You wait for marching orders. Carl is obviously called to this. I'm not called to this. I don't want to go to Burning Man, but I am called to look at the Nephilim and the mounds and all the things that the Lord has guided our steps. So circling back to Burning Man, Give us an overview. So let's say, let's just for the sake of our audience, you've never been there before. So this is your first time, and you're driving, and you're getting into this thing to the middle of a desert. Pick it up from there. What can the neophyte expect?
Wow. Okay. Dust, more dust than you've ever experienced before. So, and that's a great way to opening this conversation, LA. So if you've never been to it before, what will you expect? You drive to the middle of nowhere in northwestern Nevada. You are going to a little village called Gerlach, and from Gerlach, you're traveling outside of it another 10, 12 miles along the edge of the Black Rock Desert, and it's just so folks know, the Black Rock Desert has always been called the Black Rock Desert because there's a massive black hill that's in one quadrant of this huge expanse of flat, arid, dry. It's a dry lake bed, hundreds and hundreds of square miles of flat, dry lake bed.
Wow.
It's called a playa or beach in Spanish. And so you're going to come off the pavement, and you are going to be in a long, long line of vehicles. It's only about 4 miles from the pavement to the edge of the city. And you're not going to a festival. You're going to a city. A festival has a different kind of connotation. It's been called a festival. Lots of times it's called a festival, but it's more than that. There's something deeper going on than just simply a festival. There's literally a community that's being built. You're part of this community. It's an ongoing day in, day out experience. So you're in a long line of cars. It may take you 2 hours, 3 hours to get from the pavement, the 4 miles to the end of the city. Or in my case, the longest I think I've been is about 9.5 or 10 hours, something along those lines.
10 hours to go 4 miles?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. This year there was a few times where the lineup was longer. And so this is the interesting thing about the environment that you're in. This is a harsh environment. So you have massive windstorms that come up and will create whiteout or even blackout conditions. Your vehicle will come to a stop. Nobody can move until those storms pass. And it may be 20 minutes. It may be 3 hours. You don't know. So that's what you're going to be experiencing. You're going to be experiencing, in fact, that's the first thing you're going to notice is the harshness of the environment that you're in. It's a very severe location, very hot, very windy, very dusty, and it's alkaloid dust. So it has a caustic effect. It's going to start rusting stuff, and it's going to have an impact on everything that you bring is going to some extent get a little bit wrecked, just because of the nature of the dust. And then you drive in, you're going to look for your spot to camp or to park. If you're associated with an officially registered theme camp, you're going to go to that location. If you're just, you're on the wrong side of the tracks, so to speak, you're going to be living in a tent and in the open camping area, and that's my lot. I'm in the open camping with our crew. We set up a small shade structure with a sign that says "Camp at the Unknown God," and we are there to act as a Christian witness to the community. So you're going to be in this harsh environment. You're going to be interacting with people all around you. Everybody focuses, and I understand it. I understand the purpose of, or the reason people focus on this. You're going to see nudity. It's, as one of our candidates have said, it's less, how do you put it? More, less nudity than you expected, more nudity than you're used to. But and everybody has this image of, okay, this is an open orgy of 70,000 people. In fact, that's how it's often framed, but it's not. It's a city of 70,000 people. Just like any city of 70,000 people in the real world, you're going to have everything under the sun imaginable. It's just here, it's more celebrated, more accepted, more advertised. But some people have criticized me, but that's okay. My daughter is a full-grown woman. She came with me last year, and a very solid young lady. She's spent time already working to understand the culture somewhat. And I remember the very first person that walked by our camp when my daughter and I were standing outside, just kind of getting things ready. And this guy walks by, probably in his 70s, quite overweight, wearing just his birthday suit. And I'd already prepped my daughter. And like, the nudity that you're going to see is not what you expected. This is like a different level altogether. And here comes this guy. And my daughter just shaking her head. She's like, Dad, come on. What's with these guys? So, that's the kind of stuff you end up kind of encountering. It's a bizarre world, and it's meant to be bizarre. It's psychologically disturbing. So you've got a full orb of experiences at your fingertips. There are caps set up for almost every essential encounter you could possibly consider. Some of those are sexual, many are not. Some of them are, we're serving miso soup, or we're serving grilled cheese sandwiches, or or your bicycle is broken. We got a whole huge camp dedicated to fixing your bicycle. So you've got this massive spectrum of experiences, and along the way, you cannot help but run into the spirituality, which is a constant theme at this event. Everybody is searching, or that's the flavoring you get. The art pieces are exuding some spiritual message. The man in the center of the city, and it's a city of 70,000 people. It's a lot of people city.
Yeah, right.
Right. And in the very center of it is the man, a 40, 50, 60-foot high human effigy, which forms the focal point for the entire community. And then at the end of the week, the man is burnt to the ground. It's a massive celebration. But LA, you're going to see other things. You're going to see temples, and you're going to see shrines, and you're going to see all kinds of illustrations of people searching for some purpose, for some spiritual purpose. And so, in a way, what this is, and this is described to us at one of the workshops, because there's also workshops at Burning Man. I go to workshops with people who are involved either with the World Economic Forum, or they're involved in some of the global contexts. I've been to workshops on the Agenda 2030 program, on cryptocurrencies, global governance, interfaithism, lots on the legalization of psychedelics. And so you have a huge conversation around psychedelics. And in a sense, it's a bizarre combination of Mardi Gras and the World Economic Forum rolled into one.
Wow.
So this is the setting that you find yourself in. Now, how do you respond to something like this? Well, as you begin to wrestle with it, one of our takeaways is it demonstrates the cultural hunger for purpose, for meaning, for experiencing something bigger than yourself. And if you take a look at the history of Western movements, from modernity to postmodernism runs itself aground because ultimately, it says that there is no answer. All we had is the eternal question: is there another house? Don't look for an answer. Answers are symbolic of authority figures. So you're always kind of stumbling around in the dark with postmodernism, and it's always unfluxed. Well, postmodernistic thinking is absolutely there, but there's something beyond that, and it's this concept of reenchantment. This intentional search for spiritual meaning, an intentional search for some type of almost a religious-like paradigm. And we would recognize it as a pagan worldview because it's essentially the creation worshiping itself. We're trying to find its divine self. And that's the bottom line, LA. This is really a reflection of where we're at as a culture. One workshop we went to this year, one of the speakers said, look, this is a ceremony for what the world will be.
Wow. Let me answer something. You talk about psychedelics, and I remember I was at Woodstock, so I'm a little older than you, and there was nudity there. It's almost like Woodstock, in a way, launched Burning Man on some level. I mean, it did. And it was this mass gathering of hippies and drugs, and anything went, and nudity. And, I've said this before publicly, I'm not embarrassed by it, but, I was one of thousands who took off their clothes and was walking around, butts up naked at 18 years old. It's like I had no idea. And I was there was all sorts of drugs there. And I was, unlike our former president, Bill Clinton, I was inhaling as much as possible. So, yeah. So, I mean, I look at all that and I'm not ashamed. Well, I mean, this is who I was. And then a few years later, like 11, 12 years later, I became born again and spirit filled, and I realized the difference. But this is what I was looking for God because my girlfriend had just been killed in an automobile accident. And I was trying to figure out, if there's a God, why would he allow this? If there is a God, what is the meaning? If there's a God, can we know him? So, I mean, I was on a quest and I was taking psychedelics to try to find God. My question is this. Was there anybody that was promulgating the use of ayahuasca there? And was there like a workshop with it? Were they concocting it and doing it there?
Yes, absolutely. Hours. There's a lot.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, I know. Well, there's a lot of workshops on psychedelics, absolutely. And the conversation on ayahuasca is you'll absolutely be running into it at Burning Man. I've been in a number of workshops for ayahuasca, and a shaman has been brought in to discuss the ayahuasca journey. I have never seen an ayahuasca ceremony at Burning Man, but this year it was kind of crazy. It was a Sunday night. The temple has just burnt. It's the end of the week. Myself and a handful of people from our crew are walking back from the temple. Somebody has set up a barbecue. Okay, there's a whimsical nature to Burning Man. This is how it kind of goes. As the flashing lights are everywhere, there's lasers everywhere, there's lots of sound, and you're seeing all kinds of I mean, the place is alive.
It's sensory overload. Sensory overload.
100%. In the middle of all this is some dude who set up a barbecue and is making a whole big batch of smokies and wieners and serving hot dogs. And we're having a conversation with him, and there's a line that forms, and we're all eating hot dogs. At the same time, a band of European young guys and girls sit down beside the hot dog, beside the barbecue, and they do a DMT ceremony. While they're doing DMT right there beside all of us eating hot dogs. And you're like, and all this is besides a large art installation of an astronaut, a massive astronaut, then a smaller astronaut with the visor of the astronaut playing an anti-Trump, anti-ICE video. It's a propaganda piece with F-ICE written all over the astronauts. And you're like, this is just bizarro land. You've entered into a completely different dimension. You've got like leftist, anti-Trump, anti-ICE statements being exhibited through this intricate and large art piece. You're having delicious hot dogs and having conversations with people around you. Oh, and there's a small group of people sitting right there beside the hot dog stand having a DMT ceremony.
Wow.
Okay. That's welcome to Burning Man.
Wow. Let me ask you something. And we're gonna go to members only here at the bottom of the hour, but I want to again, most of the people there are searching. I mean, they're looking for something. We always hear about the orgy tent and all the nudity and everything else because that's what plays up. And so people think that's all Burning Man is. And again, a word of caution: we're not, promoting Burning Man in any way, shape, or form. We're not doing that. But it's indicative of the cultures. It's very telling of the time that we live in, where people have abandoned, let's say, their Judeo-Christian roots or whatever. And they're searching, they're looking for something. Is there any meaning? What is the purpose of my life? Now, I became a Christian 45 years ago, and my whole life is wrapped up in him. I mean, everything. It's all wrapped up like yours. I mean, it's full-time ministry. It's all I do, breathe, think, say, write about. It's all him. So you're there, and I'm just going to give you a scenario, but I'm sure you've had scenarios like this. So some guy, comes up to you. He's like mid-20s. He's got a loincloth, maybe like a little feather thing in his hair or something. He's with his significant other who's a female. Let's keep it somewhat normal on some level. But a significant other could be, a guy. I mean, who knows? but they come up to you and they say, well, who is this unknown God? Which is what your sign says. How do you address that?
Oh, we actually, we address it by going straight to the book of Acts. We'll tell them the name for this camp emerges from an ancient text.
There you go.
And yes.
Never say Bible, because they'll just turn around and walk away.
Oh, but that's actually not quite accurate. Okay. This is really interesting, LA, because we are very open about where it comes from. And we'll talk about how it's in the Bible. We'll talk about, we don't have to hide. This is fascinating. We've never had to hide anything. And we have people giving us our attention. Rarely, but it has happened a few times. They'll walk away. Most times they're like, wow, this is really interesting. I didn't expect this at Burning Man. So every morning we had a Bible study out in the open. And people would just walk in and join us in our Bible study. On Friday at 11 o'clock, we hosted a informal workshop after our Bible study. And the workshop, we had advertised it with a little bit of a poster, whatever, bulletin board on the side of our shade structure. And that was Tales of the Supernatural. And so we have 20 people coming to have conversations about the supernatural. And George, who was leading that workshop, he's a former missionary in the Philippines. He begins with his experience as a missionary. He's very open about it. And the gospel is being presented multitude of different ways, all of it pointing back to Jesus Christ. And, again, last year we had a pile of conversations like that. This year it happened again and again and again, like daily, all the time. In fact, this year we had 3 people join us who were intentionally joining us as non-Christians because they wanted a safe place to be. They wanted a safe camp to be with.
Wow.
And with one of them, they wanted intentionally to come in and be a part of our morning Bible study. And all 3 of them stuck around for all of our Bible studies, all of our conversations, and they heard the gospel a dozen different ways, from the simplicity of the gospel to the complexity of the fullness of God's word. And that was exciting. And it demonstrated to us that, okay, here we have a culture that is hungry for spirituality, hungry for purpose and meaning. The average person in that setting has rejected the Bible, rejected Christianity, but they don't know what they've actually.
Exactly. They've uncoupled from what they perceive is some kind of a relationship, but there's nothing there. It's a building. Some guy, the Grand Poobah, gets up and does his little stick, and it's like, well, there's nothing here. There's no power. And this is, let me just weigh in here for a second. In my opinion, and I realize I'm going out of the limb here, it's systemic. It's all throughout the body of Messiah, the body of Christ. We have a form of religion, and I'm wrinkling a lot of feathers here. We have a form of religion, but we deny its power, which is why the under 30 crowd is looking for something. Ayahuasca. Gee, I take a ayahuasca. I'm experiencing something supernatural. Wow. Who are these entities? What's going on? The whole ET thing, like, CE5. Well, maybe if I meditate, like Stephen Greer says, I can have contact. Wow, something's going on. Instead of sitting down in a building, week after week after week, and nothing ever happens. I mean, some guy drones up there, gives a good sermon, expounds on the word. And there's a lot of great pastors out there, but they never sit in the presence of the Holy Spirit and just allow the Holy Spirit to move within the congregation. They won't do that. Well, we don't want to offend anybody. Oh, the gifts are dead. I mean, and I'm not going to argue about it. We just don't attend the local church because I can't do this for over 20 years. So these people who are there, and this is what I find so interesting about your ministry. I mean, you're going right into the belly of the beast. You're going right in to where people really need something. They need to hear the truth, and you're delivering that, if I may, on a silver platter to them. You're there at Burning Man. You're not zooming in or whatever. You're there, boots on the ground, 6 years in a row. People know you, and you're talking about the unknown God. I mean, bully for you. That's incredible.
It is not our power. Okay, I'll just be upfront with that. I'm a farm boy from Manitoba. Okay, there's nothing special. unless being a farm boy from Manitoba is special. Like, that's special. That's sort of right. I don't know.
I don't think so.
No, not exactly. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at. I get it. I get it. It's a matter of we understand why we're there. Um, we understand the role that we have. We understand the purpose. We understand our mission. We're doing research, so we understand the culture. We're doing research so we can understand the broader conversations because there's world changing conversations happening at Burning Man. But we're also there the whole time, end to end, to be ambassadors for Christ, and that absolutely is fundamental. We're not the only Christians out there. There are other believers out there from a variety of different spectrums. Some of them are on the very progressive side, and I would argue that we'd really probably even wrestle with, all right, what what is Christianity? I've been in some of their workshops. Last year, I was at a workshop. Last year, maybe two years ago, on Jesus and psychedelics, and there they were giving the argument for taking psychedelics as Baptists and Methodist ministers, Episcopalian ministers, talking about how we do psychedelics so we can feel Jesus, so we can feel the blah blah. And I'm like, no, no, no. So you have that spectrum, and then you have all the way out to our little camp, and there are other believers there. We've run into them. We have definitely run into them. And then my friend Bob Worley, who's used to go out into the city, I know he was there in 2022. I was not there in 2022. Quoting Mr. Biden, thank you, Mr. Biden and Mr. Trudeau for making lots of roadblocks in our lives during those years. But he's out there. Bob Worley's been out there, both outside the camp, outside the city, interacting with people on the highway, interacting with people in Gerlach and the surrounding small villages. Others are with him as well, and our little team is on the inside. So it's been encouraging, and every year it's really hard. Like this year, the sandstorms, the dust storms destroyed so much. Yeah, I was there in the thick of that.
Wow.
The worst happened before the event even began. Saturday evening before Burning Man gates opened, I was there with an early access pass, and the storm hit. I was maybe 15 minutes away from my tent. It took me almost 2 hours, or roughly 2 hours, to actually return to my tent because you could not see past anything.
Yep.
You had, it was sustained 50-mile-an-hour winds with gusts into the 60s, and I was even told up to 70-mile-an-hour gusts. I believe it because I found myself at one point feeling an RV because you can't see. Now, okay, it's an RV. It's an RV. And you get to the end of the RV and you're like, all right, yeah, now I can start to see it. It's all, comes now to focus because your eyes are heavy and thick with dust. You're battling just to see anything. And yeah, I stick my head around the RV out onto 530, the street that I'm camping along. And it was like I was in a wind tunnel.
Wow.
And somebody on the other end was dumping gravel trucks of sand in your face. And I knew I was only about maybe 300-400 feet away from my camp. And I walked completely blind because that's how it was and how so much of that evening became. I walked completely blind until I hit the porta potties, and I hunkered down inside the porta potties for about 20 minutes before making my way through it, literally a debris field, and getting to my camp. And my camp at that point of the week, my tent was the only tent in our camp. There was other structures around us, neighbors who would put, their tents and their structures up. And LA, the first 5-10 minutes of the storm, I knew that my tent would be destroyed. There's absolutely no reason for my dinky little tent, kind of like that, Walmart kind of tent, just a small little thing. There's no reason that it would be standing. Yes, it was in the shadow of my pickup truck, but there's just simply no reason it's standing. And I knew I'd be walking back to a shattered, destroyed campsite. So I'm going through a debris field, and I'm actually meaning it. It's a debris field. My neighbor's shade structures have all been shattered and twisted all up like pretzels, laying out in the middle of nowhere. Awnings, RV awnings, it's all out there. It's tents, everything's been wrecked. And I get to my tent, and first of all, I miss my tent because I can't really see it. And when I do finally see it, I'm like, oh, there's my truck. Oh, my tent is standing.
Wow.
And it's the only thing standing. Um, I honestly don't think there was a single camp on my street that wasn't somehow damaged, ripped to shreds, or otherwise, added to rebuild something. And I'm like, Lord, this is incredible. Like, absolutely incredible. Thank you.
Folks, I'm going to go to members here, and I would encourage you to become a member because we do this type of, behind the scenes. Carl's been on for a half an hour now. We've been giving you an insight into what Burning Man is. We're going to kind of maybe do a deep dive and get some testimonies of some of the most bizarre stories, and we're going to get into that. So that could just, all I can tell you is just consider becoming a member for less than $10 a month. You get access to all the other content that's not public. But remember, we do a show every single day, and 5 out of 7 are completely free to everybody. So when you become a member, you help us do what we do here. And I want to thank you ahead of time. All right, folks, that's it. I'll be at the Prophecy Watchers Conference coming up. Don't forget about that. October 8th to the 12th, I'll be speaking 2 times, once on the Holy Shroud, the other one on the Giza Pyramid and Dark Secrets of the Nephilim. I hope to see you there.